My name is Dustin Black. As a part of Clemson Sports Media, we're going to be doing a film breakdown series of Clemson's opponents in the 2023 season. Today, we're breaking down the Florida State offense. All right, so after rewatching the Clemson versus Florida State game from last year, Clemson had a big struggle stopping the run last year, and a lot of it was just little run fit stuff. As talented as these units are, the linebackers and the defensive line, they didn't really play well as a unit last year. And I think that this is a good example of what I mean, where they're just not fitting the run the way they should. You got Maskell and Carter out of the screen. They're both, thinking that they have outside contain. This is just a simple inside zone, and you got about a 3 yard gap for Benson to run through. Now Makuba's a little late here, but he does eventually fill this gap, but he just misses the tackle, and then this run ends up going for 10, 11 yards. Now Benson's a really good running back. He's one of the best running backs in the country for my money. Really tough guy to get to the ground. Very good downhill runner. He's gonna gash you between the tackles. They have another running back, Toafili, who's more of a passing game threat. He's going to catch the ball in the backfield. He's going to, run routes and stuff of that nature. But Benson's just going to be that guy that, can just run between the tackles, and he's a tough guy to get down, and averaged about 10 yards a carry last year. Only got 7 carries, lucky for us. But they're definitely going to try and use him in this way this year, and letting him go for almost 10 yards a carry, letting the whole team almost go for 6. That's just a recipe for disaster on Saturday, and something that Clemson's definitely going to work on. Now, it's a good block by the offensive line. They did their job. Even the guards allowed to climb and take Trotter out of this play. But it's just poor run fit. It's just something that Clemson's got to do better here, and something that I hope we see improved on Saturday, or it's going to be a long night. All right, so one thing I really like that Florida State's doing with their offense this year is they're doing a really good job of hiding their personnel groupings, or I'll say, disguising what kind of personnel groupings they're in. So this is actually 12 personnel. You got a tight end attached to the formation, and then you got Jaheim Bell, number 6, in the slot to the field side. And what they're going to do is, if you're a defensive coordinator, you're thinking 2 tight ends on the field, and they're going to start, winding up for a screen pass. Everyone's thinking screen here. So you think you got Jaheim Bell out to the field to help block and get establish a good perimeter for this wide receiver, and what he's going to do is he's going to bluff that block right there, and then all the LSU DBs are going to bite, and Jaheim Bell's going to sneak out, and he's gone for a touchdown. So he's already got a couple of touchdowns this year. They found good ways to use him, especially in the passing game. With him with South Carolina last year, they actually used him as a running back. So he's kind of a do-it-all guy, really physical. Really athletic. So just another weapon that you have to watch out for on Saturday with the Florida State offense. And it's something that just made their passing game just that much more potent. Florida State does run a lot of screens, a lot of quick game concepts. So when you see that over and over again in the game, and then you got 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then they call a play like this, I mean, you really have to be assignment sound, and that's something that you're going to have to look for Clemson. I think that Florida State, if they're if they're ahead by a touchdown or even 2 touchdowns, they're not going to take their foot off the gas in situations like this. They're going to want to make a statement on Saturday, and they're going to want to pull away from Clemson. And this was just a good way that really iced the game against LSU. This made it 38-17, and that was pretty much game over. And then Florida State could cycle in some of their freshmen and stuff of that nature. But I think the Florida State offense has gotten significantly better since last year, which is kind of a scary thought because they were really good last year. But Jordan Travis has evolved with running this offense, and they definitely trust him a lot more. And they've added wrinkles, along with the personnel to really make their offense effective this year. And it's going to be a fun night on Saturday, but it's going to be a huge challenge for our defense. And this is just one of the many ways that I see them being a formidable opponent. All right, so this is a play that should look somewhat familiar to Clemson fans. This is going to be Toafili running a wheel route, and they ran this play against Clemson in Death Valley 2 years ago, and Toafili took it, I think, 70-something yards. It was the play where I forget who tackled him. I think it may have been Sheridan Jones or one of the corners, and Toafili rolled over the corner, didn't get down on the ground, and got right back up and ran the rest of the way for a touchdown. So this is a really similar play that they execute against Clemson, and as you can see, it's still very much a part of their offense, and just a really special throw from Jordan Travis. I don't think he has a particularly great throwing motion. I don't think you would coach a quarterback to throw like he does, but he makes it work, man, and he's done a really good job, evolving as a passer, like I said in the other clip, and that's just a really special throw. And then, I want to show you this as well. So this is, that's the broadcast view. That's how quick they got lined up. So Florida State is going to use some tempo on Saturday. I fully expect it. Especially early. If they like the mismatch on Clemson's defense, or they think that Clemson's in the wrong look. This is just a play that they go to. This is really their bread and butter right here is just this RPO run scheme. And here you go, Jordan Travis. That's a long mesh. I mean, he holds that ball forever. And he's reading these two defenders, and they don't really crash the mesh at all. So he pulls it, and he's gone. I mean, he's lightning quick. He runs like a wide receiver for my money. But this is what the Florida State offense is. So they're going to roll Jordan Travis out a lot, move the pocket, kind of eliminate your pass rush. He's evolved enough to where he can make special plays like this. And then Toafili's, like him and Benson are a really good duo. Benson's a good guy to run between the tackles, and Toafili's good to be used like this. And then, this is just Jordan Travis making a good play with his legs. And that's really the key for me on Saturday is how much we limit Jordan Travis' legs. Because as you can see here, I mean, he's lightning quick. He's got this defender in space, and that defender has no chance. And if you remember the game against Clemson last year, Jordan Travis was one-on-one with Barrett Carter, and he kind of made Barrett Carter look silly a little bit. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. All right, so one of the big takeaways from the LSU versus FSU game was that I thought LSU's defensive line handled their offensive line pretty well. LSU has some really good athletes on the defensive line, and this is just one good example that LSU just by being really athletic and kind of anticipating this pulling action from this Florida State offensive line. You're going to see a guard tackle pull here, and the defensive lineman anticipates it, shoots the gap, and just completely blows up this play. And it's crucial against this Florida State offense to really keep them off schedule. You don't want them to be, chipping away at you every 4 or 5 yards on first down. You want to create negative plays. You want to kind of turn them into obvious passing downs and stuff of that nature. But I just thought that LSU's defensive line had a really good day. And I think Clemson's defensive line is going to have to be special on Saturday. I mean, we haven't really seen them be special yet. And, maybe this is a big day for Ruka Rororo or even Tyler Davis on some passing downs to get some pressure. But I think Rook is explosive like this. I think Rook can make plays like this, and maybe even Peter Woods. Maybe we throw Peter Woods in there, and he's explosive enough to anticipate this and shoot that gap. I mean that's a really hard block for your center to have to make. I mean, for your center to have to snap this ball and then reach back and block a 3-tech. I mean, that's a really tough block. And I think that this is Florida State's backup center. I don't think that their starting center is healthy. I don't know for sure if he's going to be playing against Clemson, but I want to say that this or the game against Boston College, they were playing their backup center. So definitely probably a weak link of their offensive line. And, I don't think Florida State's offensive line is filled with a bunch of NFL talent by any means. I think that they play well as a unit, and they've come a long way in recent years. But I'd still give the nod to Clemson's defensive line in that matchup. I think Clemson's defensive line, can really create some havoc in the backfield, and it's definitely something we're gonna have to see. And if I had to give Clemson's defense an advantage in this game, I would say defensive line versus Florida State's offensive line is a good advantage to have. All right, so for those of you who haven't watched Florida State yet, and you keep hearing this name, Keon Coleman, and it's a wide receiver from Michigan State. You may not have seen him play before. Well, he's really good. I don't know how else to put it. He's an athletic freak. He can, he's good in space, but he's really good at balls like this, where Jordan Travis can just, put it up in the air and he's going to make a competitive play on it. So, Florida State's going to use him in that manner for sure. I think Nate Wiggins is going to have a big day. He's going to have to contain him, especially win those one-on-one battles. But that's all Florida State's doing with this 5 wide stuff is they're just trying to, find out which one-on-one matchups they can get and, exploit their favorite one. But this is just a really good play by Keon Coleman. Really easy throw for Jordan Travis. He releases it pretty quick. And as you see, Keon Coleman's strong enough to hold on to that ball. It's a good play by the DB. I mean, he's right there. It's just Keon's just a little bit more physical, and he's just a really good wide receiver. And he ended this game with 3 touchdowns. It was his first game with the offense, so we'll see what happens on Saturday, but that's definitely a matchup to watch and definitely a guy that Clemson's game planning for because he's a weapon and he's definitely a threat, especially in moments like this. As I watch the Florida State football team in the 2023 season, they're definitely an offensive football team. It's a very dynamic unit. I think that they can hurt you in a ton of different ways, and they want to remain balanced. But I think that this passing attack has become so potent through their additions from the transfer portal that I think that they really want to throw the ball around, and they really trust Jordan Travis with his arm and with his legs and just running the system as a whole. It's one unit that I know that Jordan Travis was a transfer a couple of years ago, but he's really developed in this system. So I don't necessarily count him as much of a transfer as I do the Keon Coleman or the Jaheim Bell, and even Trey Benson. He's been in the system for a few years and he's done really well. I do think the weakness of Florida State's offense is their offensive line. Like I said, I think that they're a good unit, but I don't think any individual player is going to get drafted high or anything like that. And you just want to see Clemson's defensive line, take advantage of that. I think that this is a big day for Jeremiah Trotter and Barrett Carter. I think that they're going to have to contain Jordan Travis with his legs. I think they're going to have to be matched up in coverage with somebody. And I think that it's a huge day for Nate Wiggins. I think Nate Wiggins has a lot of draft aspirations after this year, and if he can go toe to toe with Keon Coleman, who's also going to be drafted next April, I think that he can shoot up the draft boards and make a big name for himself and put some good stuff on film. I just want to see Clemson have a big day. I want to see them be kind of a bowish constrictor defense. Obviously field position's huge with that. If you give Florida State some long fields, you kind of want to see Clemson be aggressive and get them in some three and outs and get the ball back to the offense. And I think turnovers are going to be massive in this game. So if Florida State puts the ball in conflict or anything's tipped in the air, I think that Clemson needs to make those turnovers and create some turnovers to have some success in this game. I made a prediction earlier that I think Clemson's going to win this game. I think that they win the game 34-30. I'm obviously predicting a missed extra point and not two field goals. So we'll see how the game goes on Saturday. I think Clemson fans have a lot of reason to be optimistic. I think that the game is going to be won and lost when Clemson's defense is on the field. I think that if Clemson's defense is on the field and they're making stops and they're getting the ball back to their offense, I think that I like Clemson chances a lot. If Florida State finds a good way to constantly move the ball on Clemson and they're scoring every time they get the ball and Clemson can't match that, then the game could get out of hand. But I really think that the game's going to be won or lost with Clemson's defense, and it's a heck of a challenge with Florida State's offense. Probably the best offense they're going to see all year with just the amount of weapons they have and the amount of different ways they can hurt you. But it's going to be a great game on Saturday. Really looking forward to it. If you guys like this video, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure to like Clemson Sports Media on all your socials. We'll see you next time.